But actually, really bad transition. Another skill that you can learn to do, which you learn both as a DM and as a VTuber, is improv, which is definitely a thing that I've had to learn a lot over this year, and I think you have as well.
I guess it's worth mentioning I started in 2020.
Mhm.
Early on, there was like VTubers were passing around a PDF of an improv book.
Oh, that's right. You did mention that before.
Yeah. So improv is very much a skill you want to at least be like familiar with.
But it's definitely translates differently to streaming because, when you don't have an immediate response to work with, it's a lot more difficult, right? If you're talking to a person,
Yeah.
it's like make a joke and you immediately get a haha or a eh. But when you're chatting with the stream, one, there's a delay, and two, it's text. So you have to both learn to infer the intention of the text and also like accept the fact that there's going to be a weird moment between your joke and the dead air that leads to the responses from people, which for me is usually just pillows getting thrown at my head.
Yeah, that's something that's also probably worth mentioning is stream delay. Stream delay on Twitch, it's not so bad. But that's something that there's like a learning curve in terms of figuring out how to deal with it.
Yeah, I definitely, how to say, like, when I first started, like, any things that I hadn't planned for were like internal screaming, like, all right, we're just gonna keep going. But like, then once I started finding my footing, that's when I started doing like the more ridiculous redeems, right?
Imitation Orange asks, either of you do improv or college or with a friend group? I did not. This was all incredibly new to me. I'll have to post some of my like older clips, but I've come a long way in terms of just being able to talk.
Yeah.
Uh, I think like after my first week of streaming, I almost had like lost my voice because I just wasn't used to talking so much at all. What about you? Have you? And maybe you've already answered this, and I just have a goldfish memory.
No, no,
Uh,
no. I didn't do any improv. I did a lot of drama in high school, and I found that I did it specifically because I was a super shy kid and wanted, again, before I even knew what exposure therapy was just like, no, I'm gonna learn to stop being this scared little, dipshit. So it taught me to do the, like, yes anding and no but, like that kind of attitude. Like, we did a lot of
yeah.
plays, but our teacher was really good at being like, all right, we're gonna actually do like a little like setup, like a little scene, and you guys just have to kind of work with it, like figure out who you're gonna be, etc., etc. There was actually this amazing amazing scene where I was supposed to play as like a dead guy, and everybody's supposed to come over and like, just like have their little like mournful moment, as I'm sitting in the casket. And we had planned this joke that one of the characters was going to hit me in the stomach, and then I would like sit upwards slightly. And doing so would make them notice that I had a wallet still in my side pocket, so that, in like my breast pocket, so they could take it. But when they hit. But when I got upwards, it tightened the pocket a little bit, so they couldn't pull the wallet out. So there was just me sitting there, like trying not to move for like 15 seconds while they're struggling to get the wallet out of my pocket. And that was one of those moments where it's just like, oh, scuff works, because everybody laughed. Because it's hilarious, right? It's just like, oh, I clearly see what's supposed to happen there. And it's not happening, but we're still trying to make the joke land. So I think that was one of the earlier memories where I was like, oh, you can work with scuff. You can work, like, I wouldn't have known what the term was, but like, you can work with a mistake. You know what I mean? Like, a mistake can sometimes be funnier than the original planned execution, which I think both of us have experienced before.
Yeah, that was you got the lesson way before I did because I was really distressed when things went wrong early on during streaming.
Yeah.
Um And like learning to laugh at myself was a huge part of it. I would feel super bad when I was bad at video games. And now I'm just like, welcome to the stream. It's time for me to be bad at video games.
I don't quite know how to transition that back into the list, so I apologize. Rule of improv number 1. Sometimes the funniest thing is to acknowledge that you goofed. And, there we go. To bring it back, chat really likes stories. So it's always good to like entertain your chat with stories if you have them within reason. You want to obviously share stories that won't dox you, that won't dox other people, that won't put you in an uncomfortable position later. Like, make sure that you're aware that your chat likes those stories. And like, you can change the story a little bit, right? Like, the stories that I tell people, I tell them in detail of what happened, but I try to make sure that the twist is funny, or is at least funny through a shock value kind of idea. So like, it's very like that too. Like that, again, to go to the skills that you want to learn. Storytelling, that's an important one, because like, a good storyteller can take a mundane story and make it wonderful. A bad storyteller can take a great story and make it mediocre. And it is one of those things which is like, oh, I can't learn how to tell stories. Yes, you can. That is just a skill that you need to practice. You need to figure out beats. You need to figure out like highs and lows. There's like sometimes pitch control is important. Doing funny voices will add to it. Like you can say just like, like I went to the store and there was a lady in my way and I got annoyed with her, so I went down another aisle. But you can also do it just like, so, has this ever happened to you? You're walking into the store. You own that place. That's your store, Like you can add, it's the same story, like, and then all of a sudden, there she was, the Wicked Witch of the aisle, Like, it's the exact same story. You're just making it more interesting.